Welcome to diplomacyindia.com. I am VN Jha and you are watching our special show, The Nuclear Question. Now, today we have with us Dr. Rajiv Nayan, Senior Research Associate at prestigious Institute of Defense Studies and Analysis at New Delhi. He specializes in nuclear issues and he is an expert on export control regimes in the nuclear field. Last week, India's bid to enter the NSG, Nuclear Supplier Group, was successfully blocked by China despite much diplomatic outreach and sustained diplomatic effort and campaign by India. China argued that no exception could be made to any country in the world as far as joining the Nuclear Supplier Group is concerned, since Nuclear Supplier Group's membership entails a precondition, that is, that the member state must have signed the NPT. Since India did not sign that, it has not yet signed the NPT, China argued that no exception could be made. If it's an exception, it can be bracketed with application from Pakistan also. Now we have Dr. Rajiv Nayan to talk on this in detail. So the first thing, Dr. Rajiv Nayan, I would like to welcome you to diplomacyindia.com.
Thank you very much.
And the first thing our viewers would like to know that despite launching a high-profile diplomatic campaign, India's application for joining Nuclear Supply Group was not entertained. Why? The first question is why, and what now?
Look, this group, Nuclear Supplier Groups, is an informal regime. And this informal regime operates on the principle of consensus. Each and every member of the group has to agree about anything, including the membership. As you have pointed out, NPT was the criteria. Although NPT is not the compulsory criteria for entering into Nuclear Suppliers Group, this is one of the factors. But China tried to portray that it is an indispensable criteria. And this, in fact, used as a tool to block India's entry into Nuclear Suppliers Group. Now your question is what ahead? So now it is not the end of India's entry into the regime. As other countries have pointed out, including the United States, the door is still open and we are working out to get India's entry through this door. So we are hopeful that one day...
So despite the hand-holding of the United States on this matter, US was writing to every country, all the 54 member countries, that India is ready to join NSG. China successfully blocked it. Did US influence and its leverage over other countries vis-a-vis China did not work in this case?
No, look, you have to understand the composition of the current export control regimes. When it started, it was basically a Western regime. But after the end of Cold War, even before the end of the Cold War, it got mixed membership. It has got some countries from Eastern Europe, some countries from developing countries, even China is in it. So these countries have to agree because it operates on the basis of consensus, on the principle of consensus. If there is no consensus, then there will be no decision. So it is as simple as that.
So
because of United States, of course we mustered the support of a large number of countries. And without United States, it was almost impossible because about 90% of the countries are friends and allies of United States. The support of United States is, of course, necessary, must. But you have to get support of other countries which are not followers, you can say, or you can say friends or allies of United States, like China. There are other countries like Brazil, South Africa, Kazakhstan also you can include in that category, Mexico, and of course China.
So, Dr. Nayan, there were naysayers, some fence sitters, I'll say, who were led by China and who talked of procedural hurdles and process. Now, what these procedural hurdles and process mean as far as India's entry into NSG is concerned?
Look, first of all, there is nothing called procedural hurdle. This is all being pointed out in media. The issue was raised by China that how to include non-NPT countries. China was of the view that this is an indispensable criteria. If you talk to other countries, they will say that there is no black and white rule about it. In 1990s, when this criteria was included as one of the factors, not the important and the most important factor, or not the only factor, but there was nothing very clear. This is an informal regime, so there are many ambiguous areas, and I think this is one of the ambiguous areas. Members were not very clear about what to do with non-NPT countries. And when NSG was started, it was started as a body to include non-NPT country into the control framework. And that time the target was France. So in 90s when they included it, I think they could not have any detailed and elaborate procedure. So they just discussed about that. It doesn't mean that they were opposing India. They were just they were just discussing how to include India, how to include in the procedure, because China raised this issue. So, but the way the media projected, it appears that this was the hurdle.
So how did Pakistan become the third factor?
Look, Pakistan was not even discussed in the NSG, and China never named or even talked about Pakistan, the inclusion of Pakistan in the NSG formally. Whenever question was posed to the Chinese official spokesperson, it just discussed about how to include, what to do with inclusion of non-NPT countries. It never directly supported Pakistani's case also. Even when Pakistan put its application on 18th of May, then journalists asked this question to Pakistani spokesperson. And the answer was very short and clear, that we are negotiating with other members about the inclusion of non-NPT countries. So that's all. But in NSG it was not even discussed. In Pakistani case was not at all discussed. This is what everyone is telling us.
Okay, so we'll take a short break here and we'll be back very soon.